Unimaginable power coursed through Rand al'Thor's veins as he stood atop Dragonmount, the fiery mountain he had once shaped in a past life, in a torrent of suicidal grief. But he had not died, not clever. He had been reborn, chained to the turning of the wheel. The torrent of Sedin was mere inches away from overwhelming him, so powerful. He knew, in that moment, that he held the powers of creation and destruction in his hands. There was only one way out, only one solution, one way to break this endless cycle, to destroy the pattern itself, the fabric of reality. In his head, Lews Therin spoke, but Rand did not listen to the voice of his previous incarnation. He could barely hear him over the storm he was creating. He drew more power through the Shodan Kal, the single most powerful sa'angreal to ever exist, the greatest amplifier of power mankind had ever created. And he turned it on the pattern. He started burning away. Its threads like he was using balefire, but not one thread. No, all of them. As he touched the threads of the men and women he'd called friends and family, he learned about the lives he was burning away. The reality he was burning away, just like around him. The mountain unraveled, as did the city in the distance, the very skies themselves torn to pieces that vanished to nothingness. And thus he burned away himself, and the storm came to rest. The wheel of time turns, and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend. Legend fades to myth, and even myth is long forgotten when the age that gave it birth comes again. In an age, called the Third Age by some, an age yet to come, an age long past, a wind rose in the mountains of mist. The wind was not the beginning. There are neither beginnings nor endings to the turning of the wheel of time. But it was a beginning, born under peaks shrouded in the eternal clouds that gave the mountain range its name. The wind blew east, past the sand hills and onto two rivers. It blew through the westward, rushing through treetops in the early morning, and arrived at a farmhouse at the crack of dawn, howling past the thatched roof and the wooden structure. There, the wind woke Rand al'Thor, a man who had not expected nor wanted to ever wake up again. A man who now possessed memories he had not had before, the long life of Lews Therin, and the memories of 2 years of war, scheming, political intrigue, and channeling the tainted Sedin at the cost of his sanity, then cleansing it. Yet that had come too late. It had already forced Rand down the path of destruction. Everywhere he went, chaos and misery had followed. Wars, famine, all the destruction mankind had feared the Dragon Reborn would bring for 3,000 years. He had tried to free them all, free them by destroying them, yet even at that, he had failed. But as he glanced around his old bedroom, he wondered if accidentally he had achieved something far better. For part of him, the part that had been Lews Therin, had understood why they lived again and again. The young man from the present day had gone mad, but the infamous madman had understood the lesson. They lived again and again to do better. And in his attempt to destroy the pattern, Rand had not simply failed, he had undone the last 2 years. He had turned back the wheel. He was back at his father's farm in Two Rivers, before his life had taken a turn for the crazy. And this time, he would be ready. He would not let himself be ruled by his own weaknesses, but instead prepare for the storm he knew was coming. The Forsaken was still imprisoned at the Bull, the Shanshan had not yet arrived, the White Tower was unified and led by Xuan Sanch, the current, youngest Amelin seat ever and dear friend of Moiraine. Moiraine, who, Rand knew now that he had seen her thread, had not died, but had merely been captured. Who would arrive in Two Rivers at some point? His father Tam called for him to wake, for they had to leave and to prepare for Beltane. Moiraine, who would arrive in Two Rivers today? Rand scrambled to get out of bed and prepare, going through the motions like it had been yesterday, though he couldn't help but be silent. The way Tam acted, it was clear that he did not have memories from the future. Rand suspected it was only him, as the agitator, who remembered. And even though he remembered so much, the one thing he did not know was how to act as the young, somewhat naive farm boy his father knew him as, except through silence. Luckily, There were enough concerns with the late spring and the upcoming holiday that silence was not unexpected. For now, Rand was planning out what to do today, though his only immediate action was to briefly reach out and grasp Sedin while hiding the action. There was, after all, a Myrddraal nearby, and they could sense channeling. Though he did not show any outward reaction, inside himself he sighed. It seemed the cleansing had been undone too, as once again a taint covered the primal force. At least this time, he knew how to remove it. And if he was not mistaken, Moiraine should be powerful enough to channel through the Quedankal, so Nynaeva's inexperience should not be an issue. After breakfast, Rand and Tam loaded their cart with their wine and cider. Rand led Bella over to the cart, and the mare waited obediently as he fastened everything. And with that, they were off. Rand and his father. For that was what Tam was, no matter that Rand now knew they were not related by blood, silently made the trek to the village of Emon's Field. When Rand once again spotted the Myrddraal, with its black, unmoving cloak and tall posture, he had to keep himself from reaching out to the one power and evaporating the shadow spawn on the spot. No. He had already decided what he was going to do first. As soon as they arrived at the inn and Tam was distracted by other people, Rand slipped away, entering the building. The common room was deserted, so he made his way to the guest rooms, where he happened to come across Lan Mandragoran. Unsurprisingly, the stone-faced man noticed him immediately. "Warder," Rand greeted. Lan stilled. He was wearing his color-shifting cloak, the garment that was only worn by warders and allowed them to blend into their surroundings. But Rand belatedly realized that most Emon's Field villagers would be unable to recognize one. "Good morning," Lan said. "I had not expected a youth from these parts to recognize my cloak." "I am Lan." Rand did not miss the lack of a surname. Lan Mandragoran would never claim his birthright unless someone forced him to. "I am Rand al'Thor," he replied. "I heard a noble lady had arrived yesterday, accompanied by you. Could I speak to her?" Lan raised an eyebrow but turned and opened a door a few rooms down. "Moiraine, this boy wishes to speak to you." The short, stately brunette looked up from where she was sitting on the bed, busy with something. Rand wasn't sure what. "Come in. Could I talk to you alone?" Rand asked. Not that he didn't trust Lan, but he first wanted Moiraine's judgment. "Go ahead, Lan. I'll speak to him." The warder left, closing the door behind him. "You are a curious one," Moiraine said, looking up at Rand. "Tall, red hair, blue eyes. You do not look like you are from these parts, and yet I doubt you have ever left Two Rivers." Rand let out a chuckle despite himself, observant as ever. "Correct on both accounts." He took a chair and sat down opposite of Moiraine. "My name is Rand al'Thor, by the way. Moiraine, pleased to meet you." "There is indeed something unusual about your heritage, then?" A smirk played around Rand's lips as he imagined Moiraine's reaction to his next words. "I'm the one you're looking for." "Indeed," Moiraine stilled completely, her mouth slightly open in not quite perfectly hidden shock. She recovered quickly though, and Rand wasn't sure whether that was simply because she was an Aes Sedai, used to dealing with the unexpected and trained to always appear in control, or also because she was Moiraine Bloody Damodred, a woman who would become a legend in only 2 years' time. "You know then what you are." "The Dragon Reborn," Rand stated. "Born on, I mean. I could repeat that entire story, but if there's anyone who knows it, it's you." "How familiar are you with the world?" "With?" Sedin. Even Moiraine seemed hesitant to say that word, hesitant to be in the presence of a man who would inevitably go mad within a decade from now. "I won't need a guide," Rand said, "but I could use an advisor. Someone that I trust to have my, and the world's, best interests in mind as I venture out from Two Rivers. And besides, I don't know whether you realized it yet, but Mat and Perrin are also Ta'veren, and they do need a guide." Rand grimaced despite himself. "Mat in particular. And you would offer that position to someone you just met?" "That's the thing," Moiraine, said I. She reacted minutely to the use of her title. You only just met me, but oh, you're not going to like what I'm about to tell you, are you? She raised a single eyebrow in question. Despite probably having a foot in height over her, despite being several times more powerful, despite having ruled kingdoms, Rand looked down contritely as he admitted what he'd done. With the madness, with the pressure of the end of the world, I tried to end it all. I tried to end it all. Break the pattern. Instead, I undid 2 years of it, turning back the wheel and ending up here, today. And somehow, in the process, I even came to understand why. Why the wheel keeps turning, why we continue to be reborn. I'm not sure if turning back the wheel undid my madness or whether I overcame it, but I do feel renewed purpose. It remained silent for a long time. However, eventually Moiraine spoke with equal measures of disbelief and shock. You did what? Somehow, despite 400 years' worth of memories, despite being the most powerful person alive in 2 different ages, Rand could not help but feel like a child that had misbehaved. I know, Rand said. Honestly, I don't know what to say next. I've known you for more than a year, but you don't know me. Not yet. In all honesty, I had expected a scolding, but I suppose you can hardly scold someone you don't know. A very small smirk, of the kind most people would miss, played on Moiraine's face, otherwise kept carefully neutral. No, that would be tough. Besides which, I am currently feeling severely out of my depth. I can understand that, Rand said. Perhaps we can just leave my past actions in the past and look toward the future? For now, Moiraine said. But I may want to come back to it. Rand nodded. As I implied earlier already, I cannot think of anyone I trust as much as you. I don't doubt I'd have been dead a dozen times over without your help. But the future. Let's talk about tonight first. I don't know if you've heard any rumors about Midra'al, but tonight, Emon's field and my father's farm will be attacked by Trollocs. 1 fist in total. They'll be targeting me, Mat and Perrin. And while I believe everyone survived last time, it was a close call for some people, including my father, who was struck by a tainted blade. It is good to have advance warning, Moiraine said, but I'm not sure how much we can do. Realistically, I should be able to deal with a fist of Trollocs and a Myrddraal by myself, Rand said. Or even 10 or 20 of them. But I don't know how many people I should tell in the first place. Not to mention, I'd rather not tip off Ishamael that the Dragon Reborn is an experienced channeler. Moiraine sucked in a breath through her teeth. The betrayer of hope is free already. Not fully, Rand said. He was never quite properly bound by the seals on the Dark One's prison. In fact, he is also the true figure behind Ba'alzamon, not the Dark One. However, his influence is growing stronger, and the seals are weakening. If I were to perform a powerful feat, I expect he'd take notice. The first time I fought him would be, perhaps, 2 or 3 months in the future from now? Maybe not even that much. However, I'm not convinced that that fight didn't take place in the world of dreams, so he might not be able to affect the real world yet. Telaran Riod? Moiraine asked. You are full of surprises, Rand al'Thor. He laughed. I have barely gotten started, Moiraine, and by the light, it is good to have you back. She froze. I died? You got rid of Lanfear in doing so, Rand said. Though, as I found out when I, turned back the wheel, you weren't actually dead, just captive in the land of the Eelfin. Apparently Mat was planning on getting you out of there, but hadn't gotten to it yet. I can see myself going up against a Forsaken, but I can't imagine succeeding, Moiraine said skeptically. You also killed Baelal, Rand said, though you picked up the weave for Balefire somewhere, which does help. He couldn't help but smirk. Balefire? Moiraine asked. Yes, with that weave I can imagine it. And this time around, I can teach you weaves like that rather than you having to spend months digging through old texts, Rand said. You can teach me? Moiraine asked. But you can't use Sidar, can you? Perhaps not by myself, but we can form a circle. And from my life as Lews Therin, I have more than enough experience with Sedar to teach you anything you don't know." "You have his knowledge?" Moraine asked, stunned. "All of it," Rand said. "In fact, I suspect that is what pushed me to a second attempt at this rather than just giving up." "This is truly an incredible gift we have been given," Moraine said. "And I intend to make the most out of it," Rand said. "Another major thing that we need to start planning as soon as possible is the cleansing, by the way." "The what?" Moraine asked. "Cleansing the taint," Rand explained. "The last time around, I managed to remove the taint from Sedin together with Nynaeve, with the both of us channeling the Choedan Kal, but it had already taken quite a toll on my sanity, not to mention there are hundreds of men out there that could help us defeat the Dark One and his Shadowspawn if only they remained sane." "You managed to cleanse the taint?" Moraine demanded. "And what is the Choedan Kal?" The Choedan Kal are those two extremely powerful Sa'angreals that are found at Tremalking and in Cairhien, and they each require a ter'angreal as access key. As for cleansing the taint, it did put us both in coma for a few days, but yes, we succeeded. And we also took care of Shadar Logoth in the process. "How do you intend to convince your wisdom to participate?" "She seems stubborn, not to mention that she's a wilder and might not even be able to reach Sedar." "I wasn't planning on doing it with Nynaeve. I was planning on doing it with you." Moraine's mouth actually dropped. "Meanwhile, with that much of the One Power, I'm not sure if I would even be able to safely channel that, and that's assuming you have those access keys." "I know where to find the access keys," Rand said. "And I'm reasonably sure you are just above the threshold of power that is required to safely use it. But we'll probably link at some point before that, which should allow me to determine your exact strength, and I'm familiar enough with the Choedan Kal that I can tell whether it's safe." He smirked at Moraine's small shudder. "You know, I feel like I'm getting a completely different perspective of you. The last time around, I wasn't observant enough to notice any unease from your side about the thought of a man channeling." "You have put me rather off balance," Moraine noted. "Not that I get to see much of it," Rand said. "I can imagine it's a lot. I barely wrap my head around things myself, and I was there for it. I would suggest we leave discussions about other things to do for later, because there are dozens of other topics I wish to discuss with you, both about future events but also goals that you might already have in mind. But there is one thing that I want to bring up now." "And that is?" Moraine asked. "Who else should I tell? I've been thinking about this all morning. You were an obvious choice for me, because I know you are utterly dedicated to getting me to Tarmon Gaidon in one piece, but I don't know who else I can tell. Matt and Perrin have always been my best friends, but I'm not sure I can trust them with something this big. In particular, Matt might run his mouth. With the best intentions, of course, but he's a troublemaker nonetheless. No, wait, let's not get into that now. I'll tell you once we're less strapped for time. The others that I'm considering, well, Egwene and Nynaeve have both done a lot for me. Though I have to admit, Egwene and I grew apart further than I liked. Perhaps I can do better this time." "Who is Egwene?" "Oh, sorry, you don't know her yet, of course. She's the youngest daughter of the innkeeper and a very strong channeler. She demanded to come with us when we left, which you agreed because you realized she had the spark." Moraine nodded. "I'll keep an eye out for her." "I'll probably speak to her as well," Rand said. "We were somewhat close at the time. At this time, I suppose. She wasn't quite my girlfriend, but it wasn't far off either. And Nynaeve also came along." "In a way," Rand said. "We left in the middle of the night, the day after the Trolloc attack, and she followed us and then caught up to us in Baerlon. You somehow persuaded her to join us, and she's been one of the most reliable Aes Sedai for me, though she didn't yet do the trials when I had my moment, so I suppose she didn't technically count as an Aes Sedai." "Your moment," Moraine said dryly. "And what do you mean, technically?" "The White Tower split," Rand said. "Elida ousted the Amalin seat with support from the Black Ajar. She's not black herself, and dismantled the blue-eye jar. A lot of Aes Sedai didn't accept that and formed a rival tower. The rival tower named Nynaeve and a few others, Aes Sedai and Egwene, their Amelin seat. They intended for her to be a puppet, but she masterfully took control and managed to reunite the tower just a few days before I turned back the wheel. What happened to Siuan? Moraine asked, clearly worried about her friend's fate. She was stilled, Rand said, making Moraine draw in a shocked gasp. Amazingly, Nynaeve then managed to reverse that, though it left her weaker than she had been. Moraine gaped. She reversed stilling? Nynaeve is, without a doubt, the best healer of this era, Rand said. Or she has the potential to be, I suppose. But to get back on topic, I'm not sure whether telling Egwene is a good idea. I think I want to inform Nynaeve. She's a few years older and used to having responsibility, which might help her react better. Having said that, I remember she had a strong dislike for Aes Sedai and held on to it for a long time. The only reason she went along with some things was because she wanted to protect us. I see. It probably won't help that her first impression of me wasn't too great either. Rand raised an eyebrow. I don't remember that. What happened? I called her child, Moraine said. He nodded in understanding. Oh! I can imagine how she reacted to that. It's the Aes Sedai mentality coming back to bite you, you know, he teased. From what I'm gathering, you'll want to eventually tell all your close friends from the village, but now isn't the right time, Moraine summarized. I have to admit I'm feeling a bit out of my depth here, as I haven't met any of them except for that brief chat with Nynaeve, and I had no idea she was important, even when I recognized her spark. She is very powerful, isn't she? She is, Rand said, on par with some of the weaker Forsaken, and if I remember correctly, she could even beat Moghedien in a straight-up fight once she had reached her full potential. As powerful as the Forsaken, Moraine exclaimed. The Forsaken are very powerful, Rand said, but they are not as invincible as our myths would have us believe. Many of them are ruled by their vices. Some are short-sighted, and a few have even lost part of their sanity while sealed with the Dark One these last 3,000 years. In the end, they are just people like you and me, though very strong channelers with several hundred years of life experience. I suppose that makes sense on an intellectual level, Moraine said. You'll have to forgive me for my apprehension regarding them, however. Is there anyone else you wish to inform? I'm not sure, Rand said, but I was thinking perhaps my father. Or, well, I suppose he is my adoptive father, as I'm sure will be of little surprise to you. He was a blade master of the Companions and fought in the Aiel War. I remember he wanted to come along with us last time, but he couldn't because of his injury. Moraine nodded. He sounds like a capable man, the way you speak of him. Perhaps having someone with us that is familiar with the world, but also knows you and your friends, will be beneficial. I'll tell him then, Rand said, though I have no idea where to start. Unlike you, he has known me for years, and I don't doubt that to him, I'll have changed a lot overnight. I'm afraid I cannot help you with that, Moraine said. You've given me a lot to think about. Do you mind if I share this with Lan? Rand considered that. No, I don't mind. He knows how to keep a secret. Besides, I prefer to keep the practice with the sword up, and I cannot imagine a better sparring partner than Lan. Even though you're a channeler? Moraine asked. I find it relaxing. Not to mention I would prefer to avoid Sedin as much as possible until we can cleanse it again. Every time I draw on it erodes my sanity, and just the 2 years during which I used the tainted Sedin were enough to push me to the brink. I do think I'd do better this time around, but any loss to my mind could harm us. It is a gradual thing then? Moraine asked. Yes, Rand said. I will admit, while I didn't truly realize it while it was affecting me, the adverse effects are rather clear upon looking back. What made things worse was that I was also ill-prepared for the sudden life of politics and war, which probably had a harmful effect on my mental well-being even without Sedin being involved. Now, I can start over, knowing what to expect and with experience in these matters. Then perhaps we should wrap this up for now, Moraine said. I can sense that there is much more that you wish to discuss, and I have many questions, but we need to prepare ourselves first. So we're looking at you, your friends, Matt and Perrin, Egwene, the Wisdom Nynaeve, and your father joining Lan and me then? Yes, and also Tom, the Gleeman. Despite his unassuming nature, he is a great player in the game of houses, and knowing him, he'll probably stick his nose into your business with us innocent youths. But you did remind me. Nynaeve followed us to try and bring us back to Two Rivers. She might not do that if my father comes along, which could be an issue. I certainly don't want to try and fight the last battle without Nynaeve at my side. Moraine considered that, remaining silent for several seconds. You said you wanted to tell Nynaeve about your time travel, as well as your father. Perhaps we can talk to her together. Even with her disliking me, if you and your father can both explain things to her, I'm sure you can convince her. Perhaps, Rand said, thinking Moraine's proposal through. We could talk to her tomorrow. Otherwise, she'll probably dismiss the Trollocs as fear-mongering from you, I imagine. For now, I'll go inform my father and try to convince him to stay here during the night so that we'll be able to respond to the attack better. Good luck informing Lan, though I suppose he'll take the news stoically. That tends to be his way, Moraine said with a hint of amusement in her voice. The light shine on you, Rand. With those parting words, he left, finding Lan waiting in the corridor. You've had quite a long talk, haven't you? The warder asked brusquely. She wants to speak to you, Rand said, rather than try and explain. Without further comment, Lan entered Moraine's room while Rand went to try and find his father. He came downstairs just in time to find the village council breaking up, and he had to restrain himself from attacking Padan Fain. At this point in time, the man wasn't even a true threat yet, being just another dark friend. Rand, Tam exclaimed. There you are. Where did you run off to? Master Alver, Rand said, turning to the mayor of the village who also owned the inn. Could I maybe speak to my father in one of the guest rooms? Of course, he said, though he seemed surprised at the request. You can take the first guest room on the right. What's with the secrecy, Rand? Tam asked, though he led the way to the room Bran had indicated for them. Rand didn't reply until he closed the door behind them. I was talking to Moraine Sedai. His father froze up. Lady Moraine is an Aes Sedai? Yes. Why did she want to speak with you? Tam sat down, and Rand took a chair opposite him. I sought her out, Rand said. He hesitated. I don't know how to have this conversation, but I suppose I'll have to try. What's going on, Rand? His father asked, full of concern. Rand remained silent for a full minute as he considered his angle of approach. Tonight, there will be a Trolloc attack. Tam blinked, not understanding. Oh, you mean in the Borderlands? No, Rand said. Here. That makes no sense, son. Moraine is here because she is looking to deny the Shadow their goals, though she didn't know the Trollocs were here until I told her. And how would you know that? Tam asked sharply. For the same reason that I knew Moraine is an Aes Sedai. I've gone through this before, and I've somehow gone back in time, but I still remember everything that happened. Though Rand was certain his father wanted to believe him, he could hear the doubt in his voice. You don't, Rand said. I'm well aware that it sounds insane. I can scarcely believe it myself, and I've seen a lot of extraordinary things over the past years. My past years. Today is the start of some very big changes to, well, all our lives, though probably none more than me. And why would that be? Tam asked, still sounding very careful, skeptical yet wanting to believe his son. Because, Rand hesitated. He could not see it go well if he straight up told his father that he was the Dragon Reborn. Tarmangaiden is coming, he said instead. The last battle? Tam asked, disbelieving. Yes, Rand said. Moiraine has been preparing for it for 2 decades, I think. And why would you be involved? Tam asked. Not just me, Rand said. Matt and Perrin as well. If I remember from the first time, Moraine had not actually expected there to be 3 of us. And then, I'm not even talking about Egwene and Nynaeve yet. What do you mean, 3 of you? And what about Egwene and Nynaeve? They're both channelers, Rand said. And strong ones, stronger than any Aes Sedai alive right now. That's why Nynaeve can heal people even when no herbs should be enough, and why she can listen to the wind to predict the weather. And what about you boys then? Surely you're not channelers? Only I am, Rand said, bracing himself. He knew his father would support him, but that did not change that he might be hesitant when the stories came to life, with his son caught up in the middle of them. Tam remained silent, not acknowledging Rand's admission. An admission that would make most people shy away or even tell the Aes Sedai, no matter the distrust most people had for the female channelers. There was much. Rand did not know about his adoptive father, had not even learned in his previous life, though he might have, had he chosen differently on Dragonmount as they had just been reunited. That was the event, in fact, that had been the trigger for him to go to Dragonmount in the first place. But as Tam sat there thinking, Rand realized his father might have picked up enough knowledge on his travels to be able to connect the dots. "You're the dragon reborn," he concluded. It wasn't a question. Tamon Gaidon was coming. Rand was a male channeler that the Shadow was trying to kill, and he had been born on the slopes of Dragonmount, where Tam had found him as his mother lay dying. "I am," Rand said, thankful that he did not have to speak those words to his father. Then the man would definitely have thought him crazy, but with him instead drawing the conclusion himself. "It sounds extraordinary, yet I believe you," Tam said. "I can see the change in you. You're not the boy that went to bed yesterday, you're a man." Rand smiled despite himself. "I think the boy that went to bed yesterday would have taken offense at being called such." "How long?" Tam asked. "How long is the life you've had, in the future, I suppose, that you came back from?" "About 2 years," Rand answered. "Only 2 years?" Tam asked, disbelieving. "You have grown up amazingly fast." "I had to," Rand said. "Though it was more than just those 2 years for me, but I'd prefer to not get into that right now." "You said there is a Trolloc attack coming," Tam said. "What's going to happen after?" "We'll leave," Rand said. "Moiraine's plans were to bring me, Mat, and Perrin to Tar Valon, but I imagine those plans are up in the air now, considering I don't need training. In fact, the last time around we changed our plans when we learned of a threat to the Eye of the World, so we might not get to Tar Valon at all. I haven't ever actually been to Tar Valon in the end, though I have seen it from a distance." "Just like me then," Tam said. "How much do you know about my past?" "Admittedly, not much," Rand said. "You wanted to come with me, but you were injured in the Trolloc attack and couldn't leave your bed, and we didn't actually end up reuniting until a mere day before I turned back the wheel. It was not the best reunion, through no fault from your side. But when I went back, it seems to also have undone the damage the taint did to me." "Won't that return?" Tam asked. Rand had to admire his father's bravery, even when he could not quite hide his fear, his apprehension at the topic of his son going mad. "I know I can remove the taint," Rand said. "I did it last time, and this time I can do it earlier, because I already have the knowledge required. Perhaps I can do it as early as midsummer. The madness takes hold over the course of years." "I'll come with you," Tam decided. "You mentioned Mat, Perrin, Egwene, and Nynaeve, did you not? They'll need someone who knows them but is familiar with the world. Other than you, that is." Rand nodded. "I was hoping you'd decide that. I also want to ask you something." "Yes." Egwene joined because she realized we were leaving and wanted to see something of the world, and Moiraine let her come because she's a channeler. Though she didn't reveal that yet, of course. But Nynaeve only joined because she tried to convince us to come back. If you're with us, perhaps she won't do that. So I'd like your backup tomorrow when telling Nynaeve about my time travel and asking her to join us." "That sounds like a good idea," Tam said. "Is there more we need to talk about, or shall we go back to the farm? Time has flown by today." "We should stay here," Rand said. "There'll be a few Trollocs attacking the farm anyway, but it's not like we'll need it, and I want to be able to work together with Moiraine and Lan so that we can hopefully find and kill the Mildral, not to mention protect as many people as possible. While Moiraine can heal, It's best to save as much of her power as possible, and I'm a terrible healer, even if I were willing to reveal that I could channel, and people were willing to be healed by a man."
"That makes sense,"
Tam said. "I do have a sword at the farm, however. A heron-marked blade." Rand nodded. "I used it for a long time. You gave it to me when we left. I think we should be able to fetch it tomorrow, but it might be a bad idea to channel, for both me and Moraine, while there's a Myrddraal out there watching us. They can sense channeling, and it might tip him off that there's an Aes Sedai around. The more of a surprise factor we have, the better." "Just how much do you trust Moraine Sedai?" Tam asked. "With my life," Rand answered without hesitation. "In fact, she gave her life to protect me last time around. Took Lanfear with her." Tam's eyes widened. "I'll try to extend my trust to her then." "I'm not sure if Lan and Moiraine are still talking, but if not, you could perhaps ask him if he can lend you a sword for tonight," Rand said. "I might do the same, actually. Be careful, though. A Trolloc is not an easy opponent if you're not used to them." "I'll do that," Tam said. "I might look for Mat and Perrin," Rand decided. "They're probably scared out of their skin from the Myrddraal. We all saw him in the days leading up to the attack, though we didn't know what it was." The conversation over, they left the room to go about their day, anxious about the attack that would be happening tonight. Rand and his father were sitting in the common room of the inn together with Moiraine, while Lan had taken up his customary position against a wall where he had a good view of the room, all waiting for hell to break loose. Tom Merrilin, the gleeman, was sitting at the next table over, smoking his pipe and clearly distrusting the Aes Sedai who was visiting this backwater village for some reason. Rand wasn't sure how to include him. He was a dependable man, but he had no real reason to be invested in their cause to the degree he had been the last time around, and had indeed rather gotten sucked into events as tended to happen around a tavern. But then, he also couldn't help but stick his nose into things, so perhaps he'd join their group in much the same manner as last time. Master Alvear, the innkeeper, had given Rand and Tam an odd look when they'd entered the common room, both with a sword around their waist, but asked no questions. Right now, he was with his family, leaving the common room deserted except for the 5 of them. Lan suddenly kicked himself off the wall. "Trollocs," he announced. Immediately, everyone jumped into action, the 3 blade masters drawing their swords simultaneously, and Rand felt goosebumps rise on his arms and back, the subtle tell that a woman nearby, Moraine, had embraced the source and was now channeling Saidar. He himself did not see Saidin, though he was ready to do so at a moment's notice. Similarly, Tom suddenly had knives in his hands, seemingly out of nowhere. Rand let everyone else leave the inn before him, knowing that he was supposed to be the least experienced fighter. Outside, no Trollocs were yet visible, but Lan clearly sensed where they were, as he immediately took off, the others following him. "Know how to use that blade of yours?" Tom asked Rand. "My father taught me," Rand lied. All around them, confused people came out of their houses, hearing Lan's shouts. Then, screams sounded from the direction Lan was moving, and seconds later they encountered a band of Trollocs in the darkness of the night. Tom remained at a distance, using his throwing knives to great effect, Moraine slinging weaves next to him, while Rand stepped up next to his father and Lan. He easily flowed through the forms, much easier than he was used to. In fact, now that he had his left hand back, that his side no longer complained at his every move, and his hands were no longer marked. Indeed, it was only as he sent his blade through the chest of the first Trolloc, then easily pulled out, moved on to the next, blocked a strike and downed a third, that he realized how spent his body had been and how young and vital he now was in comparison. Though the Trollocs had managed to set the smithy on fire, Harald Luhan and his family managed to escape, and the Shadowspawn were quickly dispatched of. However, more shouts awaited them, and the group quickly moved through the village to Mat's house, being held up by another group of Trollocs before they got there. Just as they arrived and were about to engage the Trollocs, Moraine shouted, "Myrddraal!" Rand immediately turned to face the Fade, resisting the creature's ability to inflict fear with its gaze. Moraine shifted her attention completely to it, sending a ball of lightning in its direction, though it dodged away. A firebolt followed, but it flowed with unnatural movement once again and slid towards a shadow, no doubt intent on disappearing. Rand seized Saidin, reaching through the taint and wove fire and air calling down lightning. This, the Myrddraal could not dodge, and Rand rushed forward, avoiding the thrashing creature's blade as he approached and cut off its head. The rest of the creature continued squirming, but Rand paid it no more attention as he walked away. All around them, bestial screams sounded as the Trollocs linked to the Myrddraal died with it, and in the darkness, Rand allowed himself a grin as he released Saidin and looked around. From what he could remember, this had been a rather cleaner defense of the village than what they had managed last time, though he had not been there for the fighting. That time, the Myrddraal had escaped, meaning Moraine and Lan had had to keep fighting until all Trollocs had left or had been defeated. He quickly got back to business, however. Some people might still have gotten injured, and Moraine was their only healer. Except for Nynaeve, who wasn't yet able to use the one power deliberately. "What are these blasted monstrosities?" Mat's familiar voice exclaimed. "Trollocs," Rand said, walking up to his friend. He sheathed his sword, hoping Mat didn't notice, and looked down at the specimen Mat was studying. Like all Trollocs, it looked to be a mixture of man and beast, in this case a bear, with a snout and an impressive row of teeth, but also unsettlingly human eyes, gazing lifelessly at the sky. "Blood and bloody ashes," Mat said. "Ida, in Emond's Field, how do you even know what they are?" "Lan," Rand said, pointing to the warder. He suddenly called out that there were Trollocs. Next I knew we were outside, trying to fight them. "Is everyone all right?" Mat looked over his shoulder to his burning home. "I think so. No injuries?" He shook his head. "Good," Rand said, walking off to follow Moraine. "She might need some help, depending on how many people did get injured." "Where are you going?" Mat asked. "Making sure everyone else is all right too," Rand said. Mat followed immediately behind him, and they heard Moiraine order someone to bring his wounded wife to her. "I'm an Aes Sedai," she clarified. "I can heal her." "A bloody Aes Sedai!" Mat exclaimed, only to cower when she turned around. No offense, my lady." Rand had to hold himself back from chuckling at the naive boy Mat still was at this point. No cursed dagger, no hanging, no memories of wars long past, no Shan-Chan invasion, no kidnapping of a princess, just an innocent boy watching legends become real. "Do you have a bloody sword?" Mat asked, finally having realized Rand wore something on his hip. "My father gave me some lessons in the past." "He didn't let me tell anyone," Rand said, hoping Mat wouldn't question that Rand wouldn't have been able to resist telling him. "Never expected it to be useful." "Wow," Mat said in awe. "Do you think he could teach me too?" "Maybe," Rand said evasively. "Moraine, do you want me to check on the smithy?" "Yes, good idea," Moraine said, slightly distracted with the woman she was healing. "And if you see the wisdom, tell her to meet me so we can coordinate any healing if needed. We'll talk to her after everything has calmed down a little." Rand started walking back to the smithy, Mat on his heels. "Did you know she was an Aes Sedai?" he asked. "Yes," Rand admitted, not seeing the benefit in lying. "Father realized she was one and told me. We were spending the night in the inn, and she, Lan, and the Gleeman were the only other guests around." "Did you talk to her?" "I did." Did you?" "Well, yeah, yesterday, but I didn't know she was an Aes Sedai." Did she make that thunder?" "Yes," Rand said. He had agreed with Moiraine that if he did any channeling, they would claim it was from her. She hit the Fade with it. The moment we killed it, all the Trollocs died. "Wow," Mat said, awed. Just then, they arrived at the smithy. "Are you all right?" "We're fine," Rand said. "What about you, Perrin?" "Just shocked, that's all," he said. "Were those, I heard people say, those monstrosities are Trollocs." "They are," Rand confirmed. "What are Shadowspawn doing here?" "Trying to kill us," Rand said dryly. "Bloody ashes, Rand." Mat spoke. "How are you staying so calm with all this?" Rand wasn't sure how to reply to that, but luckily he didn't need to. "Is everyone okay?" Nynaeve's voice shouted over the gathering crowd. "Any injuries?" "Nynaeve," Rand called. She immediately came over. "Rand, are you okay?" "Your father, Moraine wants to talk to you, Rand said. Coordinate the healing. Coordinate the healing? What do you mean? She's an Aes Sedai, Rand said. She can heal people. She's a what? Nynaeve exclaimed. No wonder. What is she doing here? No time for that now, Rand said. We need to make sure everyone is all right first. Once everything important is out of the way tomorrow, I want to talk to you though. It involves Moiraine as well. Nynaeve looked at him distrustfully. Despite Rand having a full foot in height over her, it never seemed all that apparent. She turned to Haral, the smith, confirming that there were no injuries here, then turned back to Rand. Where is that woman? Near Mat's home, or at least she was when I left her, Rand said. Do you know where Egwene is? At the inn, Nynaeve said. She's taking care of the people who don't have serious injuries. I'll go and help her, make myself useful, Rand said, upon which he found himself walking next to Nynaeve for a bit. Mat and Perrin remained behind, presumably having no desire to deal with a stressed wisdom. Has something happened to you? She asked him. What do you mean? Rand asked carefully, though he wasn't surprised Nynaeve noticed this quickly. You seem different, she said. Tomorrow, Rand said. It's not something I can just tell you in a minute, and there's people that need your help. She nodded. Different, indeed. Don't distract Egwene too much. I won't, Rand promised as they split ways and he walked to the inn. In the common room, 4 people were sitting with Egwene fussing over them. Egwene, do you need help? Rand? Oh yeah, get me that jar over there. He did as she asked and washed as she administered the salve to a cut. What are you doing here, Rand? Trying to make myself useful, he said. You? Trying to make yourself useful? I had never expected to see the day. Rand chuckled. I only make myself useful at night, see? Egwene turned to look at him. You know, perhaps you're not a complete lost cause. I hope so, Rand said, smiling. Don't get smug now. Egwene finished with her patient and walked over to Rand. I don't have a clue what's happening. Change, Rand replied, realizing she wasn't talking about tonight's precise events. You think this isn't a one-time thing? Egwene asked. It's not, Rand said. Oh, Rand said. He led her away from the patients, out of hearing range as he spoke softly. You know Moiraine? The lady that arrived yesterday. I haven't talked to her. She's an Aes Sedai, Rand revealed, causing Egwene to gasp. She came here because she knew the Shadowspawn were trying to find us, or rather, some people here, and she was trying to beat them to the punch, which she barely managed. Who? Egwene asked. Who are they trying to find? Do you know? Egwene, you know I wouldn't lie about something big, right? Even if I like to join in with Mat's pranks sometimes. She nodded, slightly apprehensive. Me, Mat, and Perrin, Rand revealed. I can't tell you why. Mat and Perrin don't know yet. In fact, they don't even know the Trollocs were after them, though I'm sure Moiraine will tell them when she has the time. What? What are you going to do? Egwene asked. Leave, Rand said. We cannot stay here, because the Shadow now knows where we live. If we stay, they'd just send more Trollocs, more Fades. And Moiraine and Lan, they can only do so much. Egwene's eyes grew wide. Can I come along? Rand faked hesitation, though he knew he wanted her to, unlike last time when he had tried to convince her to stay. You'd have to ask Moiraine. Not now, though. She's busy healing people. Egwene tilted her head. Not going to talk me out of it, out of a misplaced sense of chivalry? I have 3 reasons not to, Rand said with a teasing smirk. Oh? 1, it would be pointless. 2, you just get angry with me. 3, I don't want to talk you out of it. By the second point, Egwene wanted to interrupt him, but she changed her mind after he finished. You want me to come with you, even though the Trollocs are after you? Yes, Rand said. You really can't tell me why they're after you? No. Rand shook his head. I'm sorry. The front door opened, and another man entered, bleeding from a cut in his arm. "Thanks for the talk, Rand," Egwene said. "And thanks for not treating me like a child." She hugged him, which he returned, and then walked off to help her latest patient. Only then did he realize she had her dark brown hair braided, the sign of adulthood for a woman in Two Rivers, though she had abandoned the practice only days later when Moiraine started teaching her in the use of the One Power. It was strange that this young girl, just 17 years old, would be the most powerful woman in the world in 2 years from now. Or perhaps not, depending on what changes Rand might cause to the pattern. But she had incredible leadership qualities that was indisputable. It wasn't long after their chat that Tam returned to the inn, luckily uninjured this time around, and told them that all wounded had been taken care of, proving that indeed their extra preparation and striking down the Murdral had cut down significantly on the injuries. That allowed them to actually get some sleep still and ready themselves for the next day. Rand had only just finished his breakfast when Nynaeve entered the common room and went straight for him. "You said you and that Aes Sedai wanted to talk." "Yes," Rand said, rising. "And my father too." Tam had already finished breakfast, and Moiraine had had her breakfast upstairs as far as Rand could tell. He led the way there and knocked on the door. "Nynaeve is here. Come in." Moraine's muffled voice came from the other side, and they entered together. There were not enough seats, so Rand took a position near a wall, mirroring Lan, while Tam and Nynaeve both sat down in a chair. Moiraine once again sat on her bed. "So, what's all this about?" Nynaeve asked. "Before anything else," Rand said, turning to her. "Nynaeve, I know I may have a bit of a reputation sometimes, in particular because I tend to spend time with Matt, but you know I would never lie about something important, right?" She nodded hesitantly. "As you noticed already last night, I've changed. The reason for that is that I did something that brought my future self back in time. Back to yesterday. I still have all the memories and knowledge from that time, which is why I've been acting differently. I'm a different, more mature version of the boy you knew. That's impossible." "So I would have said as well," Moiraine said. "But Rand knows things he could never have learned here, and no matter how extraordinary his description of what happened seems, it sounds possible to me. A happy accident rather than something done on purpose." "I'm not sure why I should believe you," Nynaeve dismissed her. Moiraine seemed to want to retort, but refrained as Rand gave her a look. "Then believe me," Tam said. "He talked to me separately, and his story makes sense." Nynaeve considered that, then turned to Rand again. "Why would you tell an Aes Sedai before telling me?" "Because I know Moiraine's goals, and that I can trust her absolutely as a result of that." He held up a hand, and Nynaeve actually refrained from interrupting. "I trust you absolutely as well, which is why I'm telling you as well, but it felt more important for me to tell Moiraine, also because I knew last night's raid was coming. The advance warning allowed us to take down the Fade, which cut the attack short." "There's more, isn't there?" "Yes," Rand said. "We're going to have to leave. Me, Matt, and Perrin, together with Moiraine and Lan, because the Shadowspawn are after the three of us. My father will also accompany us, and I want to ask you to come as well." "Unwisdom," Nynaeve argued. "And you trust us to run off with an Aes Sedai with only my father to protect us." "You trust her," Nynaeve pointed out. "But you don't. What's the part you aren't telling me?" "I need you," Rand said. "You came with us last time around, though in something of a different context, I will admit, as we left and you chased us to try and convince us to come back. And you were one of the most important people to support me, in particular once Moiraine died, which happened because she was protecting me, I should add." "Why do you need support in the first place?" Nynaeve asked, suspicious now. "I'm the Dragon Reborn," Rand said plainly. "The last battle is coming, and I am to lead humanity against the forces of the Shadow." "Bollocks." "I only went back in time 2 years, Nynaeve," Rand said. "Do you think any 2 years of normal life could change me this much? We don't live in a fairy tale, Randall Thor. Tell that to the Trollocs outside." Having no retort to that, Nynaeve turned to Moiraine. "So why are you here?" I've been looking for the Dragon Reborn for 2 decades, the Aes Sedai said. I was there when a prophecy foretold his birth on Dragonmount. I've traveled the entire world since in an attempt to find him. My last lead led me here. And that's when Rand sought me out and told me his story. I found Rand on the slopes of the mountain, Tam confirmed. His birth mother was dying, as you know already. That was Tigraine, actually, Rand said. My birth mother. The vanished daughter heir of Andor? Moiraine exclaimed. The very same, Rand said. From what I've been able to piece together, it was Gitara, the same Aes Sedai that prophesied my birth, who told her that she had to go to the Aiel Waste and become a Maiden of the Spear. My biological father is Janduin of the Taodad Aiel, the clan chief who united the tribes that waged the Aiel War. He turned back to Nynaeve. To get back on topic, Nynaeve, as I said already, I very much want you to join us. You are one of the most reliable people I've had around me, and there were a lot of people vying for that distinction. On top of that, you are never afraid to speak your mind or let my position in the world influence your thoughts. I need people like that. Am I truly that indispensable? Yes, Rand said. He shared a look with Moiraine, then decided to go for a gamble. There's more. You're also a channeler, one powerful enough that you have the potential to duel the Forsaken Moghedien to a standstill. That's impossible. You told me the story of it with your own mouth, Rand said. Again, Nynaeve, I need you. She remained silent for a dozen heartbeats. I'll come with you. Thank you, Rand said, standing and pulling her into a brief embrace. Then there's one more thing. Egwene also wants to come along. She's also a channeler, and she was absolutely invaluable, though I admit I had little contact with her for most of it. I'll take care of her, Nynaeve said. Rand smiled. I expected nothing less. After the conversation with Nynaeve, Rand took Lan and Moiraine along to a spot just outside of the village, ensuring they would not be seen. As I already implied, I want to start teaching you a number of weaves, Rand told Moiraine. Of course, the only way I can actually use Saidar is by linking together, which means I also need to channel Saidin, but I'll channel as little as possible to minimize the taint I encounter. In fact, for the time being, I would try to avoid channeling whenever possible, and if we come across a situation where you're unable to perform a weave, we can link, and I can use your Saidar instead. Will you start the circle? Moiraine asked. No, Rand said. Only a woman is able to start a circle. You need to reach out to me in the same way you'd reach out to another woman. Once we link, you'll likely be overwhelmed by Sedin at first, as it is rather different from Saidar. Just let me take control immediately. Rand felt goosebumps appear once again as Moiraine embraced the One Power, and he reached out to Saidin, just barely not seizing it. He felt Moiraine's link, and suddenly Sedin coursed through him, through them. Moiraine gasped, but let Rand take control immediately, upon which he minimized the flow of the tainted Sedin. It's so different, Moiraine said. Like a wild mountain torrent. It felt like I was drowning. Sedin and Saidar are opposites of a coin, Rand said. When channeling Sedin, you need to control it, while when channeling Saidar, you need to surrender to it. And that was what he did, surrender himself to the calm river that the female half of the One Power was often compared to. The greatest challenge in leading a mixed-gender circle was that you had to seize control of the Sedin, yet surrender to the Saidar at the same time. Today's excursion actually had a bit of a double purpose, Rand said. The first one is that my father has a power-wrought blade. There was no time to get it yesterday, but we can grab it now. The second, Moiraine Sedai. Have you ever heard of traveling? Her eyes bulged. Traveling? But of course, you would know how to do that. I do, Rand said, weaving all 5 elements, air, water, fire, earth, and spirit, together in a complicated pattern. With Saidar, you need to make 2 places the same in order to open a gateway. You also need to be familiar with the place you're departing from. He showed her the weave, and as the threads clicked into place, a small line of golden light appeared, which widened into a gateway showing the farmhouse where Rand had grown up. Moraine had stepped up to the gateway and was investigating it. "Careful," Rand said. "The edges of a gateway are sharp enough to cut everything except for Quendilla." He led them through to the farmhouse. "Another thing that is lost to the ages," Moraine said. "What?" "Do you know how to make Quendilla?" "I know the weave, but I do not have the talent for it. Egwene does, however. In fact, she independently rediscovered it the last time around. I'll teach her once she has progressed far enough to be able to perform it." Behind him, he closed the gateway, as it required a constant stream of cedar to be held open. The front door of the farmhouse seemed to have been bashed in, and the inside was a total mess, though luckily nothing had been set on fire. Of course, a number of dead Trollocs, who had been linked to the same Murdra'al Rand had killed, lay inside, having fallen over. After a moment of indecision, Rand used simple weaves of air to lift them up and move them outside. He made his way up the stairs to the attic, and after some searching managed to find the heron-marked blade. "Can I see it?" Lan asked as Rand descended the stairs again. Rand handed it over, a true, power-wrought blade. "I used it for months, until it was destroyed in a battle with Baalzamon. I'll have little need for it, in particular, after cleansing the taint, but perhaps my father can make use of it." He left the building, going to check on the sheep pen. He remembered that last time the Trollocs had slaughtered the animals. Moraine and Lan followed him. Speaking of, Perrin favored a hammer and axe at various points, while Mat favored an ashandari. "I've never heard of that," Moraine said. "It is a spear-like weapon," Lan said, "except it has a full blade on top. A very unusual weapon indeed." "Where did he get it in the first place?" "From the Eelfin," Rand replied. "Though that was a situation I hoped to avoid this time around. He nearly lost his life because he didn't know what he was dealing with, and if he did know what he was dealing with, he probably wouldn't receive the boons he did in the first place." Rand confirmed the sheep were indeed dead, which at least meant they wouldn't slowly starve with no one to care for them. "What weapon did he use before he got his ashandari?" Lan asked. "Bow and arrow," Rand said. "A proper. 2 Rivers longbow is incredibly deadly in the hands of someone who can use it." He opened another gateway, allowing them to get back to Emmons Field. "How many times do you think you need to see the weave to repeat it?" Rand asked. "I might have to practice it a few times." "I imagine you cannot see the weave while I'm practicing?" "No," Rand replied. "I cannot see cedar except if I weave it myself with a circle." Moraine nodded. "Well, despite that, I should be able to figure it out before too long, I think. In particular, if I can ask you to show it one more time." Rand closed the gateway behind them and released the circle, as well as his Sedin, as they walked back to the village. "Can't we just travel to Tar Valon?" Lan asked. "I imagine Rand has reasons not to," Moraine said. "Like you. Several. The first is that I don't want us to attract undue attention. If we move all over the continent, people who track us are bound to notice. Preferably, I want the cleansing of Sedin to be the first thing that people notice, because that is absolutely impossible to hide. But before we can do that, we need to make sure Ishamael can't ambush us while I'm unable to fight him, and that means we need to draw him out." "That makes sense," Lan conceded. "Another is that we wouldn't be able to explain it to Egwene, Mat, and Perrin. While I certainly want them with me, they need some experience with the wider world before they can be trusted with something of this magnitude. And then there's Tom, the Gleeman. I would appreciate having him at my side as well, but I'm not sure how much of him traveling along with us was just because he wanted travel companions, and how much was because he didn't trust an Aes Sedai with a few naive adolescents. And the last reason is that there are 2 people that we can meet on our journey that I want to get to know again. The first of them is Min, the girl that has those viewings. I believe you met her in Baerlon before coming here. And the second is Elaine Trakand, the daughter heir of Andor." "They were important to you?" Moraine asked. "Lovers," Rand replied. "Both." Moraine raised an eyebrow. "Both?" "I had 3, Rand said. The third was an Aiel woman. Among the Aiel, it is accepted for a man to have more than one wife, and Min, Elaine, and Avienda decided they'd rather share me in that manner than fight over me. Curious, Moraine noted. Min saw it was going to happen in her viewings, actually, Rand said, though I don't think she realized it at first. But that does make me think. I had fulfilled quite a few prophecies from the Kara-Aethon cycle, and it seems unlikely to me that I'll fulfill all of them a second time. For example, the one that mentions I was marked by the herons, that happened because they were burned into the palms of my hands while I was using this blade. He held up his father's sword. With the control over my channeling, I doubt I'll hold it again after today. After all, the one power makes for a far more convenient weapon, in particular against someone like Ishamael, and it was him who I fought when I received the marks. That is a good question, Moraine said. You have unmade the pattern, but that is not an act of the pattern itself, so how could prophecy have predicted what would happen after that? It is quite possible that all prophecies made before yesterday should be disregarded, whether they apply to you or not. That was my suspicion as well, Rand said, leading the way into the inn. The common room was empty, allowing them to continue their conversation as they sat down. Ah, yes, Lews. Therin was a scholar, right? Among other things, Rand said. Lan took up his position against the wall again, one foot pulled up, casual yet ready to jump into action in the way only a warder could. Actually, do you consider him to be part of you or a different person? Part of me, Rand said. Though I would say I am not the same person that I was back then. I've been raised differently, better, less arrogant. He snorted. Though that has been a weakness of mine even in this life, whether or not the taint was to blame for that. Moraine, if I am ever arrogant, please do not hesitate to address it, though of course at the right time, but I trust you to recognize that. You have been very down to earth for this day and a half that I have known you, Moraine said. Part of that might be the environment, Rand said, glancing around the inn. I haven't been back here since I left with you. Nor have I had my father around me, and the others had all changed considerably. It feels strange to be back home. The door opened, and they both looked up to see Egwene enter. The girl performed a hopelessly clumsy curtsy that left Rand unable to resist a grin. Moraine Sedai, when you leave, can I... Are you laughing at me, Randall Thor? Come sit down, Rand invited her. He took the sword off the table, ostensibly to make space, but really to distract Egwene, which was successful. You have a sword? That doesn't look like the one you were using yesterday. It's my father's, Rand said. He'll be joining us as well when we're leaving. Speaking of, you wanted to ask something? Yes, Egwene said, turning to Moiraine. Moraine Sedai, Rand said that he, Mat, and Perrin are leaving together with you. Can I come with you? I want to see the world outside Two Rivers, and I doubt I'll have another chance. Rand mentioned that already, Moraine said. Yes, you can come with us, so long as you are ready to leave by nightfall. She smiled. Thank you. Thank you. What were you talking about? Private matters, Moraine replied. Does it have to do with the Trollocs? Rand said they were here for him, Mat and Perrin. But that sounds hard to believe. It's true, Moraine said. The Wisdom will also be joining us, and she knows what the danger is. You're not telling me? Egwene asked. Not yet, Moraine said. It is dangerous knowledge. Mat and Perrin don't know the reason either. But Rand does, Egwene asked, turning to him. It was once again Moiraine who answered, however. Rand already knew. I'll tell you when I can, Egwene, Rand promised. Why, I already knew. As soon as possible. I don't want to keep secrets for you. You're different, Egwene said. Rand chuckled. Yes, I am. That's part of the secret, I'm afraid. He reached out to grab Egwene's hand. Again, I promise that I'll tell you as soon as I can. It might be as little as a few weeks until that happens. Who else knows? Moraine, Lan, my father, and Nynaeve all know both why the Trollocs are after us, and what changed for me. Egwene nodded. If your father and Nynaeve are both fine with it, then I am too. Well, I'm glad you trust someone at least, Rand said teasingly. Egwene folded her arms under her breasts and scoffed, though without heat. Leaving was much less stressful than Rand remembered it being last time around. With the attack cut short and the Myrddraal dead, there were far fewer injuries, which meant Moiraine had actually slept during the night rather than being busy until after dawn. As a result, when some people questioned her presence and whether it was related to the Trolloc attack, she could respond immediately, and the situation was further diffused by Nynaeve speaking up and telling people where to shove it. In addition, while they were still traveling at night for the sake of secrecy, Rand and Moiraine agreed that with the Myrddraal dead, it was unlikely for there to be any threat from the Dark One's forces until they reached Baerlon at the very least. Like last time, Tom had been sleeping on the hayloft and requested to join them when traveling, claiming he wanted to perform in Tar Valon. With Tam and Nynaeve joining them, they simply could not gather enough horses, so Lan and Rand instead had to walk. Thankfully, Rand thought, that was at least an option this time around. While they were both in good condition, their flight last time around had been too hurried for them to keep up with. This time, however, they could simply jog along with the horses every now and then, still allowing the party to move quickly, and Moiraine once restored Rand's energy like she had done for everyone the last time around. Lan didn't need it due to the water bond, and the horses were fine too with the slower pace. They still avoided Watch Hill like they had last time, and no drag car appeared in the skies. Likely, it had retreated with the Myrddraal dead rather than following them, though Rand could not share his thoughts with Lan and Moiraine without the others overhearing. Dawn had come by the time they arrived at Tarren Ferry, which left the ferryman rather more amicable to their request to cross. By now, Matt had started complaining about being tired, and on the other side of the river, Tarren and Moiraine announced they would be setting up camp. Lan led them down a little while along the river to the same spot Rand remembered him having prepared the last time around, a natural cave of sorts under uprooted trees that had been dropped here by the Tarantrelle. As they settled in, Moiraine and Egwene sat down near the fire. Lan had started, the two women sitting opposite one another with their legs crossed. "The own power comes from the true source," Moiraine told the girl. Rand listened, even though he already knew all of this. It felt nostalgic in a sense. It is the driving power of creation, made by the Creator to turn the wheel of time. The true source has two halves, Sedin and Sedar. They are opposites, yet work together. Sedin is the male half, and it has been tainted by the Dark One, like a film of oil over water. The power itself is still pure, but it cannot be touched without touching the taint. Saidar is the female half, which can still be used safely. Everyone else Rand noticed was also listening to Moiraine, except for Lan, who was making tea above the fire. Nynaeve in particular seemed to be watching intently, no doubt remembering what Rand had told her the previous day. "And you think I can learn to use it?" Egwene asked excitedly. "I can become an Aes Sedai?" Rand remembered her asking that same question the last time, and she had seemed so far away. Yet this time, he could not help but smile at her eagerness. Next to him, Matt grumbled something unintelligible. "More than that," Moiraine said. "You are one of the few who don't simply have the ability to learn, but rather the innate spark that makes it happen no matter what. You can and will touch the source. However, you'll need to take lessons in Tar Valon, for otherwise you'll never learn to properly control the power, and you might not survive." She continued her explanations for a while longer about the innate ability of female channelers to recognize other channelers, and got out the golden chain she often wore in her hair, which had a blue gemstone that would be located on Moraine's forehead when she wore it. She held it between them and made the gemstone pulsate, briefly causing it to light up before going dark again. While she did that, she also talked Egwene through the meditation exercises that were so common in learning to touch the one power and encouraged her to focus on the stone. For a few minutes, it kept pulsating, with finally one last, weak pulse that made Rand smile. Of course, Egwene did not have Rand's extensive knowledge about the One Power, leaving her rather uncertain. "I thought I felt something, but maybe you're wrong," she said. "Maybe I can't learn." "Don't be silly, child," Moiraine said. "That last flash was only you." "It was?" Egwene asked excitedly before sinking down again. "You could barely see it." And that's quite an achievement, Moraine said. Many women who come to Tarvalon to study have to practice for months to get this far. You're going to achieve a lot, in particular if you work hard. You mean, oh, thank you! She pulled Moraine into an embrace, then turned to Rand. Did you hear, Rand? I'm going to be an Aes Sedai. I heard, Rand said, smiling at her enthusiasm. Congratulations, Egwene. His smile turned mischievous. I'll try to remember not to add the Sedai's honorific until you've officially earned it. She crawled over to him and gave him a playful slap. Don't be silly. Rand put his arms around her. Honestly, though, congratulations and good luck with your training. Thanks, Egwene said, settling in next to him, leaning against his side. Rand remembered the previous time they had been in this hideout, and how he had felt like they had grown miles apart in those few days, and realized that instead, they had grown closer. Yet, on the inside, he felt conflicted. He cared for Egwene, always had, and though she hadn't ever been his girlfriend, back in Two Rivers, part of him had assumed she would eventually become just that as they grew older. Instead, they had walked divergent paths, and on his path he had eventually encountered Min, Elaine, and Avienda. And now, he wasn't sure what he wanted, that old path, the one that had never materialized with Egwene, or the one he had walked before. A small, self-indulgent part of his mind even wondered, perhaps, both. After all, if 3 women were willing to share, and Egwene had already been so close with Elaine and Abienda, then what about 4?